What's this? What's this? I finally have time to sit down and talk about Berserk Volume Edition Deluxe 7. The end of the Conviction arc, the end of this this part of the story, and who knows where we're going to go next. And there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about, like, in regards to this topic, but unfortunately, at this point, I think Berserk is so large, so long, it's difficult for me to, like, talk about, like, Deluxe Edition Volume 7 specifically, because I find myself more and more wanting to talk about, like, the Conviction arc as a whole. I want to talk about, like, this entire part of the story, its entire, everything it tried to do, like, thematically, narratively, with its characters, with its plot, and I am, the more I think about it, the more I, like, really reflect on, like, what I've just experienced, I really have to come out and say this. The Conviction arc is, by far, the worst part of Berserk so far. I am just baffled by this arc, by what they've tried to do. Now, technically speaking, let's get this out of the way right now, because I'm sure this is going to be, like, the big argument that a lot of people, like, throw at me, like, in regards to this topic. The Lost Children is technically considered part of Berserk, but, like, bizarrely, even though it's not, like, the main part of the arc, like, it really is just filler, like, about Guts interacting with this kid and this pseudo-apostle, sort of, like, establishing what a typical, like, battle between, like, Guts and these things are like. That, to me, is peak Berserk, which is just kind of bizarre that, like, this, like, peak Berserk, like, Lost Children could immediately precede, like, Berserk at its absolute lowest point. The Conviction arc, like, Casca getting abducted due to wandering off and Guts having to, like, fight all these people to just get her back. It's just, I really, really, really did not care for this part of the story, and like, not in any way, shape, or form. It was garbage through and through. Like, I didn't care about any of these characters. I didn't care about the about Casca all that much. I didn't care about anything really, and I think I've read enough of Berserk to sort of understand, like, what the strong points of the story are and what needs to be left out. And in Conviction, I think we've, like, seen a radical shift in, like, the focus on the story, right? I think we've kind of reached the point where, like, the author has kind of forgotten what makes Berserk appealing to its audience. Like, kind of forgotten what makes Berserk interesting, what made it, like, such a unique fantasy story, fantasy manga in general, in that, like, it was a very, very well-told revenge story, right? Like, fundamentally, like, at its core, Berserk is a revenge story. Like, Guts is supposed to be going out and trying to fight Griffith. And as a result of that, you know, trying to find a way to destroy Griffith. That is his mission in life as of this point. Like, he's just going around killing pseudo-apostles, killing apostles, becoming stronger, getting new and new weapons and, like, abilities and stuff like that, to kill Griffith. And with the Conviction arc, I think the author has really, really lost sight of that, because more and more in this arc in particular, he keeps shoving in these side characters, you know, these hookers, these religious fanatics, characters like Farnese, Serpico, Isidoro, and more, you know, as I was reading this arc, and more, I slowly began to realize. I soon began to comprehend that, like, I didn't care about any of this. Like, I didn't care about Farnese, her self-loathing, her past, her, like, struggles with her faith. I didn't care about Magus. I didn't care about, like, his views on religion and his place in the world and how he justifies the torture of all these heretics and things like that. I didn't care, like, about the weird, like, I actually kind of loathe the whole religious angle to this arc, because it's so fucking ham-fisted and so fucking stupid with Guts like fighting like Mogu's at the end, who becomes like an apostle, and or a pseudo apostle, and just, is it a pseudo apostle? I honestly don't remember. Says how little, I guess that says how little I was paying attention to this arc, but yeah, halfway through, I dropped, like, near the end, I actually stopped reading the story because I was just so bored of it, and I just didn't care about what happened next. Around the point where, like, Guts fights the guy at the end, I was just like, that's it? That's all there is? Oh, that's all there is to it? Like, that's all there is? Like, Guts did nothing, like... The arc is poorly implemented in a ton of ways, because fundamentally, I think the vast majority of these characters do not matter in the grand scheme of things. This conviction really should have been like a big part of like Guts' development as a character, like in his relationship with like Griffith and Casca and stuff like that. But like, you know, Casca is like literally insane. Griffith himself literally does not speak. Right? We still have no idea exactly what the nature of like the whole like resurrection thing really was. Like, it doesn't have the impact that the eclipse has. The entire thing just kind of feels hollow in that sense. Like, it doesn't really feel like it came together all that well at all. Like, the complete opposite of The Lost Children, which really made you, really did a great job, right, of sort of relating Jill, right, and her views of seeing Guts as like this savior, as seeing like this person who can like save her from like her abusive parents, like things like that, sort of make her life better, right? And then slowly realize that that's never ever going to actually happen. That's what makes like The Lost Children so great, is that like it makes Jill sort of realize that there is no happiness in the world. Like, she's going to have to like make her own happiness, sort of. And like Conviction tries to do the same thing with like religious faith, right? Where like it has a bunch of people who like blindly follow a religion, and the characters that actually like manage to improve their lives, manage to find like salvation, are those who don't follow that religion. It's supposed to be like a commentary on a commentary on faith and things like that, and it really does not work for a whole lot of reasons. This needs to be like, this is probably going to be something I need to make an entire essay on, an entire video essay on, because like, again, like, it spans like the entire Conviction arc spans like several volumes. A lot of the early ones I read some months ago, and a lot of the details are kind of fuzzy in my mind, but like at the end there's this line where like where this random guy, like the most generic of generic motherfuckers, is just like, oh wow, all these people were crushed by having faith. It's a good thing we were all fedora tipping atheists, or however he justifies it. Trying to like shove a moral, like a weird moral down your throat regarding this. And one, the moral doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And two, if you have to like sort of explain it, that isn't good writing. Like, you know, like The Lost Children didn't explain, right, what made Jill a compelling character. She was just a compelling character with an interesting relationship with an interesting apostle. Rosaline, I think her name was. I really, again, it's been a while since I read Berserk. It's been a couple of months, and I've only read it once. I'll have to like review it, obviously. Again, there's a lot of things to be said about Conviction, but I don't think it has a whole lot of strengths, like, at all. Like, the most interesting thing I can say about it is that, like, Griffith's back. I don't think, like, the best thing I can say about Conviction as an arc is that, like, I don't think it, like, completely killed, like, the momentum of the story or anything like that. Like, at the absolute worst, it came to, like, a standstill. Like, nothing really progressed. Nothing really changed, other than like the return of Griffith, which, you know, they didn't put a lot of focus on. They focused more on like this, on the whole like religious aspect, which again wasn't very interesting, wasn't very well told. They could have done so much more with it. I feel like they didn't. Berserk has this tendency to just sort of like introduce these plot elements and act like they were always sort of there. Like sort of like how in the Golden Age they sort of like introduced the Black Dog Knights, and then they had Wild, and they had that completely pointless like chase sequence. Berserk in general, I feel like I think I've read enough of it to know like its weaknesses as a writing, in its writing, and I do think like it does struggle a lot when it comes to like introducing new characters and making them interesting. Sometimes they work, like the Lost Children, but a lot of times, like when it comes to, like random characters like Wild, characters like these Conviction people, like everyone in Conviction essentially, like they don't contribute a lot to the plot, and you kind of, especially in the case of like comic relief characters, kind of wish that they don't even exist. Like, you know, Isidoro, he was there from like the beginning of the arc, and I can't think of a single thing that made him worthwhile. Like, fuck that guy. He needs to fuck off. I cannot stand Isidoro. Like, you could cut him out of the arc completely and be missing absolutely nothing. Like Farnese. This is another thing about Conviction that really bothers me. Farnese as a character should have been our link to the church and Guts, right? She should have been the one to really establish the church and its like methodology, like how it operates, like its problems, like its role in the plot, its role in the story, its role in the world, its involvement with the whole Guts thing, how that's affected her personally, how it affects her worldview, how it affects its future. She should have been a pivotal key character in all of this, and in spite of everything, like in spite of everything that happens in Conviction, nothing really happens when it comes to this character. Like, she almost gets raped once, and then for the rest of the arc, she's just standing around, like, just being like, holy shit, I don't think I like the church. Oh man, Guts, he's so cool. Maybe I should follow him instead. Like, maybe he's my real prophet. Like, it's stupid. Like, it doesn't make her an interesting character. It doesn't make her compelling. It doesn't really contribute much, if anything, to the arc at all. Like, I think I like Serpico more, because at least like he had a really interesting confrontation with Guts, you know, because at the very least, like the biggest threat Guts had in this entire arc was Serpico like cornering him on that cliff, and like Guts not being able to use his sword. That was kind of neat. Like there were like neat moments like that, you know, like where that guy like threw himself off the cliff after like Nina tried to like Nina was being like too much of a turbo thought. Like that was kind of interesting. But like Berserk like kind of feels like it has like a bunch of interesting imagery, a bunch of interesting moments that don't really like tie together all that well. Like, how exactly did Nina contribute to the plot at all? Like, we spent more time with her in this arc than I think any other character. And in the end, it's just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go off with this guy. Who cares? Like, I don't care about Nina. Like, why did she live? Why did everyone live? Like, all the named characters in this lived, other than, like, the bad guys. It's just like, and then they get attacked by, like, the foreign army. Like, I can't remember what they're called. Like, the guys with the elephants, like, the Indian-looking people. And then you have, like, then fucking Zod shows up, like, grabs Griffith and leaves, like, out of nowhere. It's just... It's really, really dumb. Like, it really is just fundamentally like just not a very well structured arc. I feel like I from start to finish, like I was having this like I had this mindset like I'm really, really not enjoying this. And towards the end, it got like especially bad with like the bad guy ranting about like his faith and shit like that. And Guts was just like, huh, I don't believe in God, and then like punching him once and then winning the fight. It's just stuff like that is just it is dumb. It's not very good storytelling. It just didn't make me feel invested. Now we're just... I guess I'm just waiting for the next volume to see like how things develop from here. Honestly, if it wasn't for like Griffith returning at the end, honestly, like I would have written this off as like a filler arc. Like this entire thing was just like kind of pointless. It almost feels like fundamentally, Berserk should be about like Guts and his conflict with Griffith. I think, and adding in all these other elements that don't really contribute anything to that, like you're just wasting your time. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how I feel about Berserk in general at this point. Is that like it's too padded? Like that's kind of my feels. Like yeah, sure, take your time with the artwork, make it look great, yeah, stuff like that. But don't have these like epic sequences, right? Don't have these like giant arcs, these conflicts. Like don't set this up to have like absolutely nothing come of it. And that's how I feel about Conviction. In general, it contributed absolutely nothing to the overall narrative.